All right, my tribe. I am really excited for today's video because I am going to be sharing with you my final cut. So today I am taking off the last remaining bits, the dyed bits, and finalize my going gray transition journey. As I mentioned in my last update video, in September, was coming up on my second year anniversary of starting this channel. And that basically correlated with the same time that I had decided to start going gray. And here is where I realized that I was a lot closer to the final cut than I had thought. Now, one thing I do have to say, I have long layers. And in order to get off some of these last bits, I am going to maybe have to get a little bit more of a layered look because that's just, how your hair grows out. It all grows out the same. So up here, there would be more to have to cut off than say down here. So it kind of goes, at an angle. So somebody that it has all one length hair is going to have a little bit longer time growing it out because this part, has a little bit more of the dyed bits than say the parts underneath. Now, another thing that happened that I wasn't expecting was that I had used an overtone to dye my tips. And I didn't remember it taking so long to actually wash out. And another thing is the ends are very dried, processed, and porous. So I wasn't surprised that it stained my tips, but it was really hard for me to kind of see that demarcation line. So I then had to kind of wait to let it fade out a little bit more. And this is just yet another lesson to learn, is that even with the overtone, which is a semi-permanent direct dye product, you really do have to test on your hair because your hair is unique, whether it's, whatever it's been through. So in theory, a semi-permanent or direct dye should wash out of your hair and leave your hair, fine. But it really does depend on your hair. So if you do have porous hair or you have bleached hair, it could stain it. And there's not much difference there because in order to fix it, you're still going to have to either, use a lifting product to get that stain out, or wait and just let it grow out. So that is something to keep in mind. And I know I'm starting to sound like a broken record by saying just how important it is to test products on your hair. Now, have I always done that? No, I haven't. So that is why I'm able to share my wisdom with you. Another really good rule of thumb is playing with color or any sort of treatment, doing it on hair that you don't mind cutting off. So that's why I like bleaching my ends, because if it does stain, guess what? I'm going to be cutting it off eventually anyways. But if you do your whole head or a root smudge or whatever and it stains your hair, then you're going to have to grow that out, which would be a real bummer. Or you'd have to fix it, and in doing that, that generally involves a lifting agent. So then it's permanently changing your hair. So just keep that in mind when you're playing around. I think after I do this final chop, I am going to kind of lay off the dyes and stuff and just really have fun with my hair and get to know it, play with it, do different hairstyles and that sort of thing. Because it's still kind of a discovery. We hear about how, when your hair goes gray, the texture may change, or you may notice that your hair is a little bit drier or whatever. So it'll be a good time for me to really familiarize myself with my new hair. I also did really try to take advantage of the time, the growing out period, to learn and research as much as I can on how to take care of your gray hair, because it does have its you know, it's special needs and things that you really need to keep an eye out for that you didn't have to do before. I also really did try to share everything that I have learned with you guys. So please check out my Going Gray playlist and you'll get to see, you know, the stages and what I personally looked like and went through during this process. So I did DIY this method. And was it always pretty? No, it really, there were times when, especially when I would do my makeup videos where I'm really not focusing so much on my hair. And then I also had to get up real close into the camera so you could see all of this. And there were times when maybe I was really due for a toning or that sort of thing. So it is what it is. And that's why we rely on the tools to help us get through this time. I do have in the description box below the tools that I used to, you know, like the purple shampoos and also my toner and that sort of thing. So if you're interested in seeing what I used, go ahead and check that out below. And also please share in the comments the tools that you have used because it is good for us to all share with each other products and tips and things like that to really help make this an easier transition time for everybody. And if you are a part of this community and you know somebody who might like my videos, please share it with them. The reason I started this channel was to provide a place for us ladies to support each other as we go through this ever-changing time of our lives, because we shouldn't feel insecure or alone during this time. We need to be empowering each other and looking at this time of our lives as a fun, inspiring blessing. Yes, we're seeing some changes, but take it as a personal challenge to address it in the most positive way. I also do have some other playlists because there's the Going Gray, but it's a whole package of things that we're kind of going through during this time. So I do have a skincare playlist, a makeup tutorial playlist, style inspiration. So please feel free to check those out as well. All right, so let me go cut off these final bits and I will be right back. Okay, I'm back. Man, I feel like I have lost 20 pounds because my hair, it's just a very, very liberating feeling to finally cut off all of that stuff. And my hair feels so good. I mean, because I did give it one really good chop. I left the length. I mean, it's basically the same length, but I did cut a little bit more layers here. And I do kind of feel like I see a little bit of that, you know, that dye that I did, but I'm going to take it. I'm okay with that. So here it is. Let me try and show you my back. I don't know if you're seeing it or not, but I am going to also take some pictures. I cannot tell you how good I feel right now to have finally gotten to this point. And throughout the process, you're discovering this whole time. So when you see a couple inches, you're like, oh, is this the way my grays are gonna look? And then it gets further down, and it's amazing how it's just a discovery. It really is. And I would say I do have quite a bit of light, but it is a darker gray combination. There's the different types, you know, blondes that gray, they come out with a more the name that I've heard is champagne, because it's got a little bit of warmth to it, but it's very, very beautiful, shiny, that sort of look. And then you've got the salt and pepper, which I would consider mine salt and pepper. But another type of gray is called, again, this is what I've heard. I don't know if it's a technical term or not, but battleship gray, where it's more of just a gray color that is a little bit on the darker side. So I would almost say mine might be a combination of that. And every head is different. And one thing that I find funny is, because usually you see the darker stuff underneath, but I lift up here and I've got quite a bit of light over here. So it's fun. It'll be a nice, um, a lot of fun to definitely play with what I have. Now, another thing, and I did mention it in my last video, there are going to be some pieces here still that are the strategic highlights that are growing out. And I cut my hair back in, oh, it was 3 months before. I don't remember. There was maybe in March, then in July, and now in September. And each time I will take this, which is a razor, and I really had a solid amount of the strategic highlights. And I think you could see a little bit of that in here. It'll come out a little bit more of a, a yellower color, because that's actually what I needed to tone on the most part. And it'll be, like I say, I'll see, but now getting rid of all that, how much am I going to have to tone my own grays? But to get rid of some of those last pieces, I actually will take a tiny bit and then just razor them out. You don't want to do too much. You don't want to go too short. But like if you've got this much, say on me, this much, and then there's pieces here, I could go ahead and just razor out just a little bit every time I cut my hair, which is pretty much every 3 months. And that way you're getting it out. So I think what I learned with this method, it was an excellent method for me. But I did probably put in more strategic highlights than I actually needed. I'm not complaining about that. Like I said, this is how I've gotten rid of them, and that has worked as well. But I probably could have done a little bit less, and by the time you're at this point, they're gone as well. So that's maybe one lesson that I learned. But did this technique satisfy everything that I was looking for? Yes, it did. I wanted to be able to keep my hair long, and I was able to do that. Did I have to go with a more layered look in the end? Yes, I don't mind it. I don't mind it. But if, say, you have one length hair and you do not want to cut it, it might take you a little bit longer than to grow it completely out. I wanted this method to be healthy. And one thing that I had noticed, because prior to that, I had been processing my hair, whether it be coloring it or bleaching it or whatever. So once you do the strategic highlights, then I just noticed that my hair kept getting healthier and healthier because I wasn't dyeing it anymore. And so I did notice the health of my hair increase as the journey went on. I also didn't want this method to be expensive. And so again, once you have your strategic highlights in place, then you're no longer, you're no longer getting it colored. So you're putting money back into your pockets every month. You're not coloring your hair. And the last criterion was I wanted fast results. And you could look at it one of two ways, is that once you get the strategic highlights put in place, basically the effect is there. It's already camouflaged and you can really comfortably grow your hair out looking good. Yes, you do have to tone and do that sort of thing, but it was a very, very comfortable method to use. But to actually be fully grown out, this took me 2 years, a little over 2 years, 2 years and a few months, but that was a lot quicker than I thought it was going to be. I really thought it was going to take me about 4 years. So I want to thank you for joining me in this journey. I absolutely love hearing from you guys how you're doing it, because it just feels like such, like I say, a community where we're supporting each other. And if you are new to my channel and you do want to see this whole process, because I did have a series of going gray without cutting your hair, please check that out and you can see how I did it from start to now. As well as I did share a lot of, like I had mentioned before, a lot of videos on just the things that I had been learning along the way. So please check out my Going Gray playlist. Now, I do have to give you a bit of a warning. These are the very first videos that I've done, so there is a little bit of a cringe factor there. So please be patient. Well, thank you again, and I hope you guys have a wonderful day.